Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from MasonWorks Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my friend James Bonato and my new friend Brenda Stevens. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So we're going to be talking about a subject that is actually how do I put it? It's a very, very, very important, but it's a traumatic subject that we're going to talk about today. And I had no idea that it's almost like an epidemic, it feels like. Do you want to talk a little bit about what inspired you? And this new film on narcissists came out of his own experience, right? So,
Right.
so let's start there. I wanted to at least preface that I'm very grateful for your work, James.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, that's true. I was inspired to make the documentary film Running with a Covert Narcissist due to my own experience with a covert narcissist. And I probably shouldn't even use the word inspired. I think that's the wrong word. I should come up with it. When I think of the word inspired, I think of like me, saving a little kitty cat from a bunch of awful field mice or something like that. So maybe we should use the word driven. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was driven to make the documentary film because I wanted to teach people about what covert narcissist is, because a lot of people don't know what it is.
Right.
And I wanted to also drive home the fact that we victims, and there's a lot of us out there, we're not alone. Sometimes it feels like we're alone out there, but we're not. And I want to teach people of what happened to us, how we got out of it, and to really show people that there's help for us. There is therapy out there for us. And speaking of therapy, we have Brenda Stevens. She is actually in the documentary film, and she is the therapist. And so I wanted to introduce Brenda.
Yes. Well, I wanted Brenda. Before we came on, I asked for her autograph because she's a star. James made her a star. Brenda, we'll come to you next, okay? But I wanted James to give a little bit more about. I didn't want to get him off the hook yet about his experience because he went deep into it, and he had actors, except for the doctors and the therapists and you guys in the film. He had actors play the roles. So could you talk a little bit about that, about the selection process of the stories, and why you did it that way, James?
Sure, I can absolutely talk about
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
because putting together a documentary film is a lot harder than people think. This is actually my fourth documentary film. And right from the get-go, I had like about 50 victims to choose from, and I had to narrow it down to three. And just doing that alone was quite an effort, quite a monumental task. And once I got the three, I had to make sure that I told their story correctly and honestly. Okay, I couldn't embellish anything, otherwise it wouldn't be a documentary film, right? So I went along with that. And then I kind of threw a monkey wrench into my own film by getting actors, like you said. Like, what are actors doing in a documentary film? That doesn't make sense. I'll go into that um, just a little bit later. But I did hire a casting director to help me in coordinating the locations and getting permission from people to use their spaces, and coordinating with the actors to make sure that they were available on that day was certainly a task. I mean, this was not a Hollywood production. All right. I tried to make it look like a Hollywood production, but it wasn't. So
It's good.
there are very many challenges with that. And after it was done, I had to do marketing, which Kathy, I'm not a marketer. All right, my job is behind the camera, and anything that happens behind the camera, I can deal with. Like, if I hit myself over the head with a camera lens and break it, that's on me. Or if I have a wobbly tripod and it falls into a swimming pool, that's on me. But marketing was difficult. So I did have an incredible issue that I was not prepared for. I can remember shooting the very first scene, and it was a very simple scene. And so I've been an editor for 35 years. And when I sit in front of my edit suite, all is right with the world, baby, because I'm in my domain, I'm in my element. And so I was ready to edit the scene. It shouldn't have taken me more than an hour. And I got like 5 minutes into it, and I had to turn off the computer and take a nap because
Oh,
I was so emotionally exhausted from this, because I kept connecting my story of covert narcissism to the three characters in the film. My story is not in the film, all right, but I kept connecting it for some reason, and it was like that through the entire process. So I was not ready for that. I think the first scene, which should have taken an hour, took me 8 hours to edit that darn thing for what it was. So I wanted to, just say how difficult it was.
yeah, yeah. And I can understand just watching it brought it all back to me. I mean, because when you're with a covert or a narcissist, that they you want to always in a relationship, you want to keep improving, but after a while you're just overwhelmed with the requests or the complaints, the criticism, the tear down of your ego. You're just overwhelmed. So you start numbing out. And so when I watched the movie, your other NDE movie, I watched it many times. This one I did. I just got through it once
Ah,
because I was there. I can totally understand how you were. Um, this is a passion project that will help so many people because of that, James. I think, don't you?
I do, and I was hoping that Brenda could chime in on.
Yeah. So, Brenda, we didn't mean to leave you out. I just wanted to make sure that people knew that this was a healing process for James. That a lot of this was, it's not only a gift to all of us, but it's a gift to him as well.
I think it's a gift to all of us who participated in it. Watching James, he did a speech recently, which was so inspiring, truly inspiring.
Yeah.
It is helpful for all of us. And I think the more that we get information out about these relationships, the more we help people, right? We normalize, or not normalize, but we validate what people are going through. And I think that is one of the biggest problems I see, is that most people feel like there's something wrong with them, that they've done something, and we cannot make sense of what goes on, especially with a covert narcissist. I mean, narcissism in and of itself is bad to be around, but covert narcissism is extra sneaky, and can really make people doubt their own reality, truthfully.
But the covert narcissists, they have this method of smothering you, or the beginning of the relationship is so storybook almost. So they've got it. So you're hooked into that storyline even while you're going through the trauma. And this particular trauma, why is it so rampant right now?
I get asked that a lot, and I really do think social media does play a role in the recognition. A lot of people are talking about this now, which is fantastic. There's just more information out there. The downside of that is that I think we throw the word narcissism around a little too freely, to describe kind of typical selfish behaviors. But when we really understand what's going on, we start to recognize, the more information is power, right? So we have more power within ourselves to recognize what we're experiencing, reach out for help, research more about it. There's, like I said, so much information. People are kind of doing a lot of research on their own to see what's going on in their lives, trying to figure it out. And I really want to go back to what you just said about the beginning part of the relationship. I work almost solely with people who have been in relationships with narcissists, raised by narcissists, coupled with narcissists, whatever it is. Every relationship starts out that way. especially romantic relationships where we call it love bombing in that beginning part. And love bombing doesn't necessarily mean roses and chocolates and things like that in the beginning of the relationship. They will study you. They will understand kind of what your likes and dislikes are. And you really are a project for them. And they're giving you lots of attention during that phase. So when things start to go a bad direction, we hold on to that vision and that version of that person that we first met, when that's really who they are. They're really in, something weird's going on now and they're acting differently. The truth is they've been wearing a mask, and they purposely do that. They purposely try to find the ins and outs, how to kind of get in your good graces, how to win you over. And we really do hold on to that version of them. And it takes us a long time to figure out the real person is the one with the mask off, the one that's saying the mean things and taking the joy out of the room, as you described. That's hard for us to wrap our heads around.
Yeah. So James, did you find a common theme like what Brenda's talking about, that there was this honeymoon stage and everybody's story, and was that the same thing with your story as well?
It was exactly the same story. It actually took me a couple of years to figure out that my friend was a covert narcissist, and we were in a business community together, a chapter. And ironically, I was the one who got her into the chapter. And yes, it was all peaches and cream. And she turned out to be the one who got me thrown out of the chapter.
Wow.
Which was really took me by surprise, because I thought she was my friend. I really did. And I knew that there were a couple things off. It's almost like she was playing a piano that only had 75 keys instead of 88. Something was missing, or she was driving a car downshifted to 1 or 2 instead of driving a D. It didn't feel right. So yeah, she wrote this letter to the membership committee about me, which I never saw. And I knew that there were some issues. I knew that there were some issues there. And I didn't really make anything of it at the time. I mean, I've got plenty of issues myself. I've got some idiosyncrasies, which my wife would love to tell you about. All right, eating hot dogs without a bun is one of them. But she had So she wrote this letter, and I got put in front of the board, and the head of membership arranged this meeting, a Zoom meeting, and they didn't read me the letter. Covert narcissists, and I'm sure Brenda can concur with me, they're very brilliant and they are clever. Brenda said that they're very clever. What they do is not only they try and demolish you, but they also gain allies. All right, and you know where I'm going, Brenda. She got they're called flying monkeys. All right, and they are people who advocate for the covert narcissist. They do the dirty work of the covert narcissist so they can keep their hands clean, which is exactly what happened to me. And my covert narcissist, she's got to be one of the top at recruiting, because she brilliantly got people that I knew turn against me. And I don't know how she did it, but that is the job of the flying monkeys. As a matter of fact, and it's a very strange term. I'm sure Brenda will dive into what it really means, or expand on it. But covert narcissists need these flying monkeys. Okay, they can't demolish you by themselves. Well, they can try, they can do a little bit, but they need the flying monkeys to really finish the job. Okay, and the flying monkeys can almost be more devastating to you than the covert narcissists themselves. That's what happened to me. I mean, I was officially thrown out of the chapter by the flying monkeys, not by the covert narcissist, even though it came from her. But did you want to expand a little bit on flying monkeys there, Brenda?
Sure. Yeah. And I could not agree more. The flying monkeys, any enabler what's the word that is in I can't think of the word, that works closely with a narcissist. Basically, any ally that they have is really damaging. But a flying monkey, it comes from the term from the Wizard of Oz, the flying monkeys that helped the Wicked Witch, did her bidding. And, at the end of the movie, they kind of all wake up and realize that, that they were doing the bidding of evil. Most people don't realize what they're involved in, because especially with the covert narcissist can be very self-effacing. They can play the victim. They can really paint a picture of themselves as being the one to feel sorry for. And they're okay with this. This is kind of what drives them. This is how their narcissism presents itself. So they will win people over, and people will believe their story. And especially in professional situations, it can be even easier to do, because there isn't a lot of emotional attachment necessarily in a professional relationship. So they're going to, a flying monkey or any enabling person is going to take the story at face value, not necessarily dig into, what's James' side of this story. They're just taking her story because she's, again, probably showing some vulnerability, even though it's all in the work of being manipulative. So people just don't explore the truth as much. And these flying monkeys do. This is how, I can sit back here and pretend that I'm so wounded as a covert narcissist, then people are going to have an inclination to stand up for me. And that's what a flying monkey typically does, in a very basic nutshell way of explaining it.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that really hit home with me. I don't know if I'm reaching any of the people in the Kathy Mason Show audience, but one of the things that I fell into, which Brenda pretty much defined it, was I was finding myself really trying to support my covert narcissist. And I foolishly thought that she had a vision of humanity, the same vision of humanity that I did. And they don't. Covert narcissists, they don't have the empathy. I says, when is the empathy going to kick in with her? When is she going to and it never happened. And they just can't. They don't have the ability to grow, it seems, and they don't have the ability to learn from their mistakes or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I understand that it actually gets worse. And I tell you, with me, I have to actually take some of the blame here of what happened to me, because I am a person who, if I'm given an assignment, if I am given a goal to reach or a mission, I'm going to complete that mission, and I will do whatever it takes to get that mission done if it's important to me. And my relationship with my covert narcissist was important. But I finally realized that I was not ever going to complete that mission. And that sort of was on me. And I finally understood that. I mean, it was her who actually got me out of the chapter. She kicked me out before I kicked her out of my life. But eventually I came to see that.
Well, I remember saying, could you just be kind? Where is your kindness? And I remember saying that almost every day. And then I finally went, I can't handle someone who's unkind. Well, I was lucky. I recognized it and said, you have to leave.
People can be selfish and still be very empathic. They can have a lot of empathy for others. Narcissists are very low, very, very low, no matter what type of narcissist they are, very low with empathy. And that's the big difference. So if I'm going on a walk so I can be in nature, that's self-care. That is hugely different from me glomming onto somebody, like one of you mentioned this earlier, engulfing you and wanting all of your attention. That is selfishness. That is a whole other thing. Wanting to love yourself and accept yourself for who you are is healthy and good. And it's part of the healing process when you've been in this relationship. It's incredibly important to understand this about yourself and know that the difference is that you actually still care about other people. A narcissist doesn't, and at least certainly not to a level that matters. I mean, they may have a tiny bit of empathy, and really the empathy piece is what stops them from going over completely into antisocial personality disorder, which is even scarier. But they have very little of it. And that's what we see. And that's why you just said, I'm asking for kindness. Can you just be kind? I remember doing the same thing. Do you feel anything? Asking my partner, do you feel anything? Is there anything going on in there that gets to your heart? And It can really feel like that.
Yes. I
Okay, James.
it reminds me of something. Do you know how I found out about covert narcissism? This is really crazy. I was talking to a friend of mine about this lady who, and she emailed me a couple of times, and he said, well, "Why don't you show me the emails?" I said, "Okay." So I forwarded him the emails, and he said, "All right, James, I'm going to send you a YouTube video, and you're going to watch it, and I want you to call me back." And I went, "Okay, all right." So he sends me this YouTube video, and it's like 7 signs you're dealing with a covert narcissist. I'm like, what in the world is that? So I watched the video, and I call him back, and he said, "Okay, if she's got 3 or 4 of the 7, she's probably a candidate for, she's probably a covert narcissist. How many of the 7 did she have?" And I said, 7. She had all 7. And he said, "I knew it. I was reading the emails that she wrote to you, and there is so much gaslighting in these emails. She's projecting and she's manipulating you. I'm going to send you a second YouTube video." And I go, you don't have to send me any more YouTube videos. I get it." And he goes, "No, no, no, watch this one." So he sends it to me, and it's like 13 minutes long. And I'm watching it, and it's a therapist from Texas, and he has this incredible Southern draw to him, and he's talking about it. And I'm watching it, in like 6 minutes in, 7 minutes in, 8 minutes in. I said, this guy, this therapist from Texas, he knows my covert narcissist personally. He's got to know her, because he was describing her to a T. I said, how could he possibly have known all this? And that's when I realized that covert narcissists fit a mold.
Yes.
The film is doing very well online. I have over 3,000 views. And oh, I can't believe I just let that slip out. I'm so embarrassed. But it's doing very well. You can see the film on the site that is scrolling there. Okay. And not only can you see the film, you can learn about covert narcissists, the stuff that all 3 of us are talking about. And Brenda is on there as well. She actually has a workbook. Brenda has a workbook, which I took. It was wonderful for me. I took the entire workbook. It was very helpful to me. Oh, look, there it is. There's the site.
There's the
And
website.
that's the website. And not only did Brenda's uh, workbook help me, but I really had to put in a plug for my wife. Okay. Because my wife was there uh, and stood by me through this whole process. Okay. Without my wife, I would have ended up by what that motivational speaker, Matt Foley, what did he say? "I'm going to live in a van down by the river," or something like that. So I have to give my wife credit for not having me ending up like that.
Hmm.